Hey everybody, this is a painty paper video that just shows you what I went through making my Christmas painty papers. This bin is where I kept all the papers that I was using. I used schoolwork, I used catalog, you know, the health insurance drug catalogs that show up in the mail. I used those pages, National Geographic pages. That's a book page right there. You know, pretty much all the trash. I used all the trash. Those are the stencils that I end up using, which will come later on. And at first, this wasn't going to be a voiceover, but due to the volume of my house, it turned into that. So, I went through my paints. And, you know, the way I have my paints right now, it takes forever to go through my paints, for crying out loud. It takes forever. So, you know, I do what I can. And a couple of edits in this video so that I can search for a color. I tried to stick with a lot of the Christmas theme by using colors that I know I would be needing in future projects, future Christmas projects, which, as most of you know, I did not get to a lot of the projects that I had in mind due to the way my month of December went. But I have the papers now for next year, and I will probably link this video then so that when we get to that point, everybody can see where the papers came from and why I did it. When I make painty papers, I had explained this in another video, I don't care about a clean, perfect color. If you need that, then absolutely go purchase paper from the store in the colors that you need. Me, however, I do not want to buy colored paper. Not when I can make my own out of recycled material. Now, that's not saying I don't have any colored paper, because yes, I do. I have lots of colored paper. For some bizarre reason, I have a bunch of neon paper. But I still prefer to make my own. I like the texture that the painty paper gives. I like the, you know, the design that you can get. I like the background of whatever page I use. Like this is, you know, schoolwork or book pages. And the best thing about it is that if you do something that is ugly to you, or when you look at it as a whole, it just doesn't look right, you just cut that piece out, and then if you cut them up into smaller pieces, typically it looks just fine. So unless you somehow turned your painty paper into total mud, then there is pretty much a way you can make it look decent. But yeah, I recommend using what you have. Always raid your recycling bin, go through those papers from the last few years, you know. The new year, it's time to purge, right? So go through the papers in your last few years. I don't use anything with much personal information on it, but you know, we all have stacks of papers everywhere. Get them out, slap some paint on them. That's all I can tell you. In the colors that you want to use in projects, or in colors just that you like. The process itself is very relaxing. I really enjoy doing it. I have always enjoyed doing it since I was first introduced to them by Shelly over at Crafting Mamas years ago. And I haven't stopped, and I do them for all kinds of projects, and I get a whole bunch of made ahead of time for things that I might want to use them for, or just multicolored, messy paper. You know, there's always a place for that, and like I said, I can cut a piece of it out if I'm looking for a specific color or colors or whatever. I can cut pieces out of it. There's really no limit to what you can do with a painty paper and some mark making, or you know, texturing designs or something. There's no limit to the world of painty papers, especially with jelly plates, any kind of mono printing. The possibilities are really endless. So a lot of these papers, my original intention was going to be die cutting and punching, you know, paper punches, which I did do. I did do some of that, and some of it went out in my Christmas Happy Mail. But I still ended up with a lot of papers left, so I will have, you know, like I said, I'll have a good amount to start with next Christmas. Or if I find that I need these colors like blue and yellow and red, and I've got tons of green from my little circle trees, then I can go out and get whatever colors I need. And if you're feeling really ambitious and that's the only paper that you have, you could paint over it. Paint over the color. A lot of times what shows up through the original color when you put a new color on is really cool. Especially if you have a table that is textured. My work table used to be a 6-foot folding table, and you know how they're kind of rough and bumpy? That left really cool texture marks in the paper. So I would do color on top of color on top of color to create that look. These scrapers that I'm using, they are called Bondo knives. I will leave a link for them below from Amazon. They are very inexpensive and very useful. I keep one of them clean just for burnishing, and then the other ones are whatever. I mean, and you could clean them easy enough. The paint comes right off. But I keep one that's just for that, and then these ones, I have 2 more. I think it was a pack of 3. You can use them for, you know, you could do whatever with them, and I use them for painting or whatever I need them for at the time. But I'm going to do my first little flip through of papers that I did during this process. Alright guys, let's do a show and tell of what I did off camera. I made some yellows because I have stars, okay? So we're yellow, white, and then like glittery goldiness. I did some more blues. I was experimenting. Here, let me turn them this way so I can get the whole thing. Sorry, big ugly arm in the way. I was experimenting with the blues, okay? So you can tell like which paints were thick when I threw them on there because the lines stay. So these are the ones I finished this morning. Last night when I ended that last little snippet of video, I had to like go feed my children. You know how that is. You gotta like feed people, and then you're tired after you're done feeding people, and you gotta clean up after you're done feeding people. So I have these ones and this. I kind of went crazy with the blue because I kept putting too much paint on, so I kept having to grab another sheet and another sheet. These were some yellows I did without the dark yellow, I think. Oh no, I had the dark yellow. So these are just separate yellows, I guess. And then this is what I did last night. I'll sort them as I go here. Okay, so I did some other blues. Kind of along the same lines, but you'll see I did some a little bit different. I used one of my paint brushes too. See, I like that look, like it's, and I like how you can see the metallic through it all, because I put like a squirt of paint, a squirt of metallic, a squirt of paint, a squirt of, and then I just ran it all into each other. And then this one I did, but in the other direction because of how I was using that paper. And this one I did with some darker colors. And this one is, I didn't put as much on as I did with this one, so it didn't blend as far with the metallics, but I could put some on after. More metallic ones, just a blue. And we have the ones that we did together, I think, right? Did you do these? Did we do these on video? That one I've got to put some more color on because it's just not. So yeah, we might have, but I did some more reds, and I used some red. I have this Liquitex, and I like it. It's a nice glossy red, and it really like thickens the paper up. But man, it's so heavy bodied. I don't know if Liquitex has a lighter bodied paint. I mean, I wouldn't buy it unless it was on sale. So these are like my 3 oddballs here. These ones. I know we did these red ones together too. Liquitex is like, I don't buy that often, so I don't buy the name brand. Oh, I'm sorry. That is Master's Touch acrylic. And I don't, again, even that one, I don't buy those big bottles very much because who has room? I don't have room. But if they were on sale, maybe I would. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. So, I'm going to start with some dry brushing. So the dry brush that I use, I thought was an older brush just because of the way it looked. But then I found a package of them at Walmart in the hardware section. So if you want a brush that's got stiff bristles that aren't even, you know, like uneven bristles, just head over to Walmart. They were really inexpensive. I think maybe $3 for a pack of 3. So, you know, they are available. I took some metallic, like a bronze color and white, and mixed them together. And I really like the color that came out because I was aiming for something a little bit lighter than the straight bronze color. The white seems to work really well, obviously, for things like that. But don't be afraid to experiment too with other colors or other, you know, techniques that you thought of or that you've seen that you want to try. The dry brushing I just love. I love doing it. I do it on the jelly plate. I do it straight on the paper. I really enjoy dry brushing, especially with these, like, you know, really stiff brushes. These stiff bristle brushes. Try saying that 5 times fast. But yeah, they come out really cool. And we are going to get to the part where I am just stenciling, and I use a bunch of my stamps. Now keep in mind too, when I say stenciling, 99% of my stencils were cheap, very cheap. They were from people selling them. They were from, you know, Chinese apps like AliExpress. I did get some from clearance sections at craft stores, so always be sure to check the clearance section. And some of them, I had swapped people for some stencils that they had. I swapped them for things I had for stencils that they had that I might use. I do a lot of splattering here. It's really messy, obviously. The splattering is messy. I ended up covered in it. My desk, my paint bottles in front of me there, everything got splattered. So there was no shortage of splattered paint. But that metallic color with the white turned into a splatter was also a really cool effect. And the gold metallic that I have, it's not a very bold gold. Not a bold gold. It's very translucent. It doesn't really show up in a lot of, you know, places. So I've been mixing it with other things. I mix it with some yellow and I mix it with some white. But I really want to find a nice metallic gold. I might have to go with like the name brand, you know, Liquitex, or one of the stronger paint. I don't know. What would you call that? Richness, I guess. The brands that have richer colors in paint. Because cheapo metallic craft paint. I know a lot of people talk about Arteza. So if anybody wants to chime in about their metallic gold, I know they have some good metallic colors. But if their gold is actually like you can see it, then I will definitely buy some of their paint. Their metallics. Because I really miss having a gold that you can see. The one I have, I think, is the Anita's, which is the brand at Hobby Lobby. So it's not, you know, a top-of-the-line color. But I even have folk art colors that are very translucent, too, that don't really show up. So, you know, I don't know what to say. These stencils, I have them linked below. The snowflake stencils are still available on Amazon, and they are a little cheaper after the holiday. I actually bought these last Christmas, after Christmas, when they were a little bit cheaper. So this is the first time I am using these stencils. And I was really impressed. I really enjoyed it. I also included some of the Christmas stamps that I used for other projects. You don't see them in this video, but I did use them in other things. And I was really, really impressed with these acrylic cling stamps. So be sure to check those out and you know, get yourself some for next year, or put it on your list, you know, to remind yourself to get them at Christmas time, because they are really cool. They are really cool stamps. I have some other stencils that I use. I can't find the exact set of stencils, but I found one that has just about all of the stencils in it. So I did link that below. I think there were only a few of them I noticed that I didn't have, and maybe one or two that wasn't in that pack that I do have. But these stencils are really impressive for being, you know, just cheapo stencils. And I am not trying to discredit. I know there are a lot of people in our art community who create and sell stencils, and I know that the stencils that they create are of phenomenal quality. But I don't really use those types of stencils, and the ones that I typically pick out, I pick out on impulse, I guess. Like, I don't go looking for a certain stencil, or very rarely. I think that the what are those diamonds called, like Harlequin stencil? I guess that would be what they're called. That's the only one I went and searched for. The rest of them, you know, I just search flower stencils, or, you know, and it's usually on a whim. It's not usually something I plan. Whereas if I was going to make an investment in a homemade stencil by some of our fellow artists, I would have to really think about which ones I'd want, because I know that they cost more money, and I want to be sure that I would use them. So, like I said, I'm not discrediting anybody, but if you want some cheap stencils to ruin, because I ruin them. I end up breaking them and pulling them up and ruining little flappy pieces, and it's a mess, I'll tell you. But if you want to ruin some cheap stencils, go to the link below. This stencil here, I have had this one forever. I don't know if it's available. I think I got this one from AliExpress. I had bought a bunch of different sizes, so you can look. You know, there's a bunch of those Chinese apps and websites now. Like, I just ordered stuff off of one called Temu. I don't know if anybody has heard that. T-E-M-U. And the thing that I am disappointed with Temu is that I was supposed to get $25 off my first order after a certain, I don't know, it was like 75 bucks. And guess who did not get $25 off? And that doesn't really sit well. It doesn't really sit well with me, because I was supposed to get it. So that's, but I ordered some things from them. I am, you know, it's Chinese. So, like, I bought a milk frother to mix up some of my paint that have been sitting that are hard to mix, like some people do. Well, the milk frother I happen to buy is too big to fit in the necks of the craft paints, which isn't a problem I've had, you know, before. I have a high quality milk frother that I use to froth milk with, and it doesn't, it would fit in those bottles, but I don't want to use the good one, you know. I want to use this cheap one, but I can't, because it don't fit. So anyway, yeah, you do have to get what you pay for. And I bought one of those 3D pens. So I bought the one with the best reviews on their website. I don't know how that goes, but so we'll see. We'll see what comes. But yeah, I got really into the stenciling this afternoon. I think my video was like 2.5 hours long. I cut it way down because it got boring. That is a little piece. Somebody sent that to me. It's got stars, and I've never used it before today, and I just fell in love with the pattern that it created on the paper. So I use that one a ton on a whole bunch of papers. And I really do like the papers. And when you know, looking at them and thinking about it now that I'm not in any kind of a Christmas mode, they're really not Christmassy. You know, they are just colored. I mean, we use blue and red and silver stuff all the time. So I guess it's an either or. You do whatever you do whatever feels right. You know, there's no pressure at all with these. They're supposed to be relaxing. Painting papers is very relaxing. So just enjoy the process. Just get out there, play with colors that you've never seen together before, that you don't know if they'd look good, because some of the best painting papers I have made are with paint colors that I wouldn't use together. Okay, like a lot of blue and orange, just the different shades that I use, they look awesome. Or green and purple, I do a ton with greens and teals and purples. So, you know, have fun with it, because painting papers are a lot of fun. I am about to cut to the video of the stamping here. I'm going to be doing some stamping in a minute. And I do just use stamps, background style stamps that I have in my stash. I learned one thing about the stamps that I own is that some of them do not play nicely with StazOn ink. So that Harlequin style diamondy stamp that I use, the big block one, it didn't do good with the StazOn. So I put it away. But later on, I grabbed it and I was trying it again with some of the, I don't know, cheap ink, I think. I don't think it was anything special, but it was a cheap ink and it worked wonderfully. So yeah, it was the StazOn, and I'm assuming it's because the StazOn is a totally different ink. It's a totally different quality. Totally different materials that, you know, totally different ingredients in it. So yeah, I do a lot of experimenting with some of my ink pads, because I have a lot of cheap ones. You know, and I like to, if they don't work anymore, I want to know so I can get rid of them. So I try and use different ink pads all the time. And I can't get to my Distress ink still because there's a pile in front of that drawer. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell Timmy. I can't get to his ink right now. But I have a lot of fun with the stamping. These are all just, you know, text stamps or music note stamps or designs. And they do add a lot. See, here I am. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try that stamp. And it is not going to work. And it's sticky. And it sticks to the paper. And I get so mad. I try my little fun foam, which, tip of advice, fun foam underneath a stamp underneath the paper that you're stamping on, 99.9% of the time will produce a perfect stamped image. So I do that. I actually want to get a big sheet of fun foam to try out. So the next time I come across one of them, I am totally going to buy a whole sheet so that I don't have to keep moving my paper. We're coming to the final flip through of the handful of papers that I called quote unquote done. They're not done. I mean, I'm probably gonna add a ton more. But I got a whole lot of green, a whole lot of blue. I got red paper. I got you know, like some of those would be awesome on Christmas cards. You know, the possibilities with these are endless. So make sure you always, always, always think of what you can do before you go out and spend a ton of money on expensive paper. Make your own, like I did here. And it works for just about every project I need. I haven't needed anything that's a clean, solid color, green or yellow or blue or red. I haven't needed that paper. So try this. And if you want something that's clean on the back to write on or to use for tags, just glue it to something. Glue it to something scrapbook paper that's a little bit patterned. Glue it to, I like to do manila folders. The possibilities really are endless. So for 2023, how about you try and use what you normally wouldn't use?